Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the massive chamber of the Galactic Council, his boots making soft sounds on the polished crystal floor. The room was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. Tall alien beings sat in floating chairs around him, their strange eyes looking down at the small group of humans in the center. Jake had been to this place many times before. For 43 years, humans had been part of the Council. They had traded with alien races, shared knowledge, and built colonies on distant worlds. But today felt different. Today felt like an ending. Captain Lisa Hayes stood next to Jake, her hand resting on her uniform cap. She was nervous, but she tried not to show it. Behind them, 3 other human officers waited quietly. They all knew this meeting would change everything. The largest alien, Counselor Vexthara, began to speak. Her voice came through the translation device in Jake's ear, but it still sounded cold and strange. Her body was made of what looked like blue crystal, and light moved through her as she talked. "The Galactic Council has made a decision about humanity," she said. "We have watched your species for many years. We have seen your actions across the galaxy. We have tried to guide you, to help you become better members of our community." Jake felt his heart beat faster. He had expected this, but hearing it still hurt. "Your species has caused too many problems," Vexthara continued. "You interfere in conflicts that are not your business. You ignore our laws and agreements. You develop dangerous weapons and technology without permission. You explore areas of space that we have marked as forbidden." Another alien counselor, Saffron, floated forward. He had multiple eyes that blinked at different times, and his skin was green and smooth. "In the past 5 years alone, humans have violated the Neutral Zone Agreement 12 times. You have made contact with 17 species that we had quarantined for good reasons. Your military has created weapons that break our technology treaties." Lisa felt anger rise in her chest. Yes, humans had bent some rules, but they had also helped save lives and solve problems that the Council had ignored for centuries. "We tried to work with you," Vexthara said. "We gave you warnings. We offered to help you change your ways. But your species does not learn. You continue to act without thinking about the consequences." Jake finally spoke. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the tension in it. "Counselor, we have been partners for over 4 decades. In that time, humans have helped defend Council space from the Void Reapers. We have shared our technology and knowledge. We have saved countless lives." "Yes," Saffron admitted. "But you have also caused chaos. Your people do not follow orders. They question everything. They take risks that endanger everyone around them. You are unpredictable and dangerous." "Dangerous?" Lisa asked, unable to stay quiet. "We're dangerous because we think for ourselves. You are dangerous because you do not understand your place in the galaxy," Vexthara replied. "You act like you are special, like your way of doing things is better than methods that have worked for thousands of years." The chamber fell silent. Jake looked around at the alien faces staring down at them. Some looked sad, others looked angry, but most just looked tired. He realized that this decision had been made long before today's meeting. "The Council has voted," Vexthara announced. "By a margin of 87 to 13, we have decided to expel humanity from the Galactic Council. Your membership is revoked. All trade agreements are canceled. All research partnerships are ended." Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. He had known this might happen, but hearing it made it real. "Furthermore," Saffron added, "all human presence must be removed from Council space. This includes your colonies, your research stations, your military bases, and your trade posts. You have 72 standard hours to begin the withdrawal process." 72 hours? Lisa burst out. "That's impossible. We have over 300,000 people living in Council space. We have research projects, colonies, families who have lived on alien worlds for generations. The timeline is not negotiable, Vexthara said firmly. Any human presence found in Council space after the deadline will be considered hostile. Our defense forces will respond accordingly. Jake closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about everything this meant. New Seattle Colony had 40,000 people. The research station at Kepler 442b had taken 8 years to build. The defense platforms protecting the border had saved millions of lives. What about our allies? Jake asked. The Altarians have been our partners for decades. The crystalline engineers have shared their technology with us. Don't they get a say in this? The decision has been made by the Council as a whole, Zephrun replied. Individual species may maintain private relationships with humanity, but only within human space. No human may enter Council territory for any reason. A smaller alien, Counselor Kefler, floated forward. Jake recognized him as one of the Council members who had often supported human proposals. Admiral Morrison, please understand that this decision was not made lightly. Many of us have great respect for humanity's achievements. But your species has a way of turning every situation into chaos. We solve problems, Jake said quietly. We find solutions when everyone else gives up. You create problems, Vexthara corrected. You refuse to accept that some things cannot be changed. You push boundaries that should not be pushed. You take risks that endanger entire civilizations. Lisa stepped forward. Those risks have saved lives. When the Void Reapers attacked the vegan colonies, who stopped them? When the plague hit the Altarian homeworld, who found the cure? When the space pirates were raiding the trade routes, who drove them away? And in each case you ignored proper procedures, Zephrun said. You acted without authorization. You used methods that were unpredictable and dangerous. Yes, you solved the problems, but you also created new ones. Like what? Lisa demanded. Like showing other species that Council authority can be ignored, Vexthara said. Like proving that our careful, tested methods are not always necessary. Like encouraging other species to question decisions that have kept the galaxy stable for millennia. Jake finally understood. The Council wasn't just afraid of what humans might do. They were afraid of what humans might inspire others to do. So this is about control, he said. You're not expelling us because we're dangerous to the galaxy. You're expelling us because we're dangerous to your power. We are expelling you because you cannot be trusted to follow the rules that keep civilized society functioning. Vexthara replied coldly. You have proven that you will always choose your own judgment over established authority. The chamber fell silent again. Jake looked at his fellow humans, seeing the same mixture of anger and sadness in their faces that he felt in his heart. Very well, Jake said finally. Humanity will comply with the Council's decision. We will withdraw from Council space within the specified time frame. All of it, Zephrun emphasized. Every human, every ship, every piece of human technology or equipment. You will take nothing that belongs to the Council, and you will leave. Nothing behind that could be used to maintain human influence. Understood, Jake replied. Vexthara's crystal form shifted slightly. Admiral Morrison, this decision brings us no joy. But it is necessary for the safety and stability of the galaxy. Perhaps in time, humanity will learn to exist peacefully, within the boundaries of civilized behavior. Jake looked up at the alien counselors one last time. Perhaps, he said. Or perhaps the galaxy will learn what it means to exist without us. The human delegation was escorted from the chamber in silence. As they walked through the corridors of the Council building, Lisa whispered to Jake, "Sir, what do we do now?" Jake's face was grim, but his voice was steady. "We go home, Captain. We pack up everything we've built out here, and we go home." And then, Jake paused at the entrance to their shuttle. Then we show them what humanity can really do when we're not following their rules. Captain Danny Sullivan stood on the observation deck of the used Liberty. watching the last transport ship lift off from New Seattle Colony. The massive vessel struggled under the weight of 20,000 colonists and their belongings. Below them, the city that had taken 30 years to build sat empty and dark. "Final count, Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Rachel Stone from behind him. "All 43,000 colonists evacuated. No one left behind." Danny nodded but didn't turn around. He had lived on New Seattle for 15 years. His daughter had taken her first steps in the colony's Central Park. His wife was buried in the cemetery overlooking the northern mountains. Now they were leaving it all behind because the council said humans were too dangerous. "What about the infrastructure?" Danny asked. "The agricultural domes are sealed and powered down. The fusion reactors are offline. The atmospheric processors are in standby mode," Rachel replied. "Everything is intact, just waiting for someone else to claim it." Danny finally turned away from the window. 43,000 people, Rachel. Doctors, teachers, farmers, engineers. They built something beautiful here, and now they have to start over because some aliens think we ask too many questions. On the other side of the galaxy, Dr. Amy Rodriguez was facing her own heartbreak. The research station orbiting Kepler 442b had done her life's work. The quantum communication array she had spent 8 years perfecting was the most advanced piece of technology humanity had ever created. "Are you sure about this, Doctor?" asked her assistant, Peter Kim, as they stood before the main control panel. "Maybe we could just shut it down, leave it for later." Amy shook her head. The council was very clear. No human technology can remain in their space. They think our communication system is too dangerous because it can't be controlled or monitored. She placed her hand on the destruction sequence button. 8 years of work, countless sleepless nights, breakthrough after breakthrough, all about to become space dust. The quantum crystals had taken 2 years just to grow properly. The mathematical equations had filled 3 libraries worth of research notes. "It could have changed everything," Peter said quietly. "Instant communication across the entire galaxy. No more waiting months or years for messages to travel between star systems." "The council doesn't want things to change," Amy replied. "They want everything to stay exactly the same, safe and predictable, forever." She pressed the button. The beautiful crystalline structures that had taken so long to create dissolved into their basic atoms. Years of research and dreams vanished in a bright flash of light. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker was supervising a different kind of destruction at the border defense stations. These massive platforms had protected both human and alien worlds from the Void Reapers for over a decade. The automated systems had never failed, never let a single Reaper ship through the perimeter. "Sir," called Sergeant Mike Torres from the main control station, "the Altarians are asking if they can take over operations of Platform 7. They say their ships can't handle the system complexity." Steve looked at the tactical display. Platform 7 protected 12 different star systems, including 2 major Altarian colonies. "Tell them the shutdown is not negotiable. Council orders." "But sir, without these platforms, the Reapers could break through anywhere along the border." "I know, Sergeant," Steve said grimly. "But we follow orders, even when they're stupid orders." One by one, the defense platforms powered down. Their weapons went offline, their sensors went dark, and their communication arrays went silent. The border that had held firm for over 10 years was suddenly full of holes. Admiral Carol Martinez watched the evacuation from the bridge of the UES Horizon. Her ship was one of the largest in the human fleet, and she had been given the job of coordinating the entire withdrawal. The logistics were overwhelming. 300,000 humans spread across 47 different worlds and stations, all needing to be moved in just 72 hours. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Sandra White, "incoming priority message from the Altarian government." The main screen lit up with the image of Ambassador Kethmer, a cat-like alien, who had worked with humans for over 20 years. His usually calm expression showed clear distress. "Admiral Martinez, my government has asked me to speak with you directly. We are deeply troubled by the Council's decision." Carol leaned forward in her captain's chair. "Ambassador, I appreciate your concern, but the decision has been made. We don't want to cause more problems for species that have been our friends. You do not understand," Kethmer said urgently. "The research projects we have worked on together, the trade agreements that keep our economy stable, the defense systems that protect our colonies, all of this will disappear when you leave." "The Council will find other solutions," Carol replied, though she didn't sound convinced. "The Council does not innovate, Admiral. They maintain. They preserve. They do not create new solutions to new problems. That has always been humanity's gift to the galaxy." Sandra White looked up from her station. "Admiral, I'm receiving similar messages from 14 other species. They're all asking us to reconsider." Carol felt a pain in her chest. These aliens had become more than allies over the decades. They had become friends. "Ambassador, we have no choice. Any human presence in Council space after the deadline will be treated as hostile." Kethmer's ears flattened against his head, a sign of deep sadness among his people. "Then we will lose more than we realized when we voted to support your continued membership." "You voted to support us?" Carol asked, surprised. 13 species voted against your expulsion, Admiral. The Altarians, the Crystalline Engineers, the Peaceful Wanderers, and 10 others. We argued that humanity's unpredictability was a strength, not a weakness. But we were outvoted by those who fear change more than they fear stagnation. The communication ended, leaving Carol staring at a blank screen. She had assumed the vote was unanimous. Learning that some species had fought for humanity made the expulsion even more bitter. On the mining station in the Tau Ceti system, Foreman Bill Jackson was overseeing the evacuation of the most productive rare element facility in Council space. The station extracted materials that were essential for faster-than-light travel, and humans had developed techniques that increased output by 300%. "Boss," called miner Helen Cruz, "the Crystalline Engineers are begging us to leave our equipment behind. They say they can't run the operation without our extraction methods." Bill looked at the massive drilling equipment that had taken 5 years to design and build. The techniques they had developed here were revolutionary, using controlled micro-explosions to extract rare crystals without damaging them. No other species had figured out how to do it safely. "Pack it all up, Helen. Every tool, every piece of equipment, every technical manual. If they want our methods, they should have voted to keep us. But boss, this station provides materials for the entire sector. Without it, dozens of worlds will lose their supply lines." "Not our problem anymore," Bill said, but his voice showed. He didn't really believe that as the human ships gathered at the edge of Council space. The magnitude of what was happening became clear. This wasn't just an evacuation, it was an amputation. 43 years of integration, cooperation, and shared progress was being cut away in 3 days. Captain Roy Adams piloted one of the last ships out of Council space, a cargo vessel loaded with refugees from the research colonies. As his ship crossed the boundary into human space, he received a message from Admiral Morrison. "All human personnel, this is Admiral Morrison. The evacuation is complete. All humans are now outside Council space, as ordered. I want everyone to remember that we are not retreating in defeat. We are not slinking away in shame. We were expelled because we dared to think differently, because we refused to accept that problems have no solutions." Captain Adams looked back at the space they were leaving behind. Somewhere in that darkness were the worlds where humans had lived, worked, and dreamed for nearly half a century. "The Council believes they are safer without us," Morrison's message continued. "They believe the galaxy will be more stable without human unpredictability. We will see if they are right. We will see what the galaxy looks like without humans to ask the difficult questions and find the impossible answers. As the last human ship entered Sol space, the galaxy suddenly seemed larger and lonelier. Behind them, they left empty colonies, abandoned research stations, and gaps in the defense networks. Ahead of them lay uncertainty, but also possibility. The Council had gotten what they wanted. Humanity was gone. But in the coming months, they would learn the difference between getting what you want and getting what you need. 18 months had passed since humanity's expulsion, and the solar system was busier than it had ever been in human history. Ships moved constantly between Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt, and the outer planets. What the Council had expected to be humanity's punishment had become their greatest opportunity. Colonel Frank Davis floated in the command center of Mining Station Alpha, deep in the asteroid belt. Through the massive viewing window, he could see dozens of mining ships working around the clock. The asteroids that had once been barely touched were now being carved up with precision and efficiency. "Colonel, the latest production reports," said Chief Engineer Nancy Scott, handing him a data pad. "We're extracting rare metals at 4 times our previous rate. The techniques we learned from the crystalline engineers are working better than we ever hoped." Frank studied the numbers with amazement. When humanity had been part of the Council, there were strict limits on how much they could mine from their own system. The Council had wanted to prevent any one species from becoming too powerful through resource control. Now, with those limits gone, humanity was discovering just how rich their solar system really was. "The new fusion reactors are online on Mars," Nancy continued. "With the power systems we're building, we'll have enough energy to support 10 times our current population." "And the shipyards?" Frank asked. "Jupiter Station is ahead of schedule. We'll have the first new exploration ships ready in 6 months." Frank smiled. The Council had kicked humanity out thinking they would struggle without alien technology and trade. Instead, humans were innovating faster than ever before. Without Council restrictions on dangerous research, human scientists were making breakthroughs. Every week, on Earth, Dr. Kevin Chang was working in a laboratory buried 3 miles beneath the Sahara Desert. The facility was larger than any research center humanity had built while they were Council members. Here, away from prying alien eyes, human scientists were pushing the boundaries of what was possible. "Dr. Chang, we've had another breakthrough," announced Dr. Lisa Park, his lead researcher. "The quantum communication array is not just working, it's working better than Dr. Rodriguez's original design." Kevin looked up from his equations, excitement clear on his face. "Show me." Lisa led him to a room filled with glowing crystals arranged in complex patterns. The quantum communication device looked like a work of art, but Kevin knew it was the most advanced piece of technology humanity had ever created. "We tested it yesterday," Lisa explained. "Instant communication with our research station on Titan. Over 1 billion miles away. No delay, no signal degradation, perfect clarity." "The Council said this technology was too dangerous," Kevin said quietly. "They said no species should have the ability to communicate instantly across the galaxy. They were afraid we might use it to coordinate things they couldn't control," Lisa replied. "Now that we're free to develop it properly, we're finding applications they never imagined." At the edge of the solar system, Captain Tony Rivera stood on the bridge of the U.S. Pioneer, the first ship built entirely with post-expulsion human technology. The vessel was sleeker and more advanced than anything humanity had possessed during their Council membership. Most importantly, it was designed for one purpose: exploration beyond the boundaries that had been set for them. "All systems green, Captain," reported Navigator Beth Clark. "We're ready for our first journey outside Council space." Tony looked out at the stars beyond the solar system. For 43 years, humans had been limited to exploring only the areas the Council approved. There were entire regions of space that had been declared off-limits, mysteries that humans had been forbidden to investigate. "Helm, set course for the void regions," Tony ordered. "It's time to see what the Council didn't want us to find." The Pioneer moved away from the sun, its new engines leaving barely a trace. The ship was equipped with stealth technology that made it nearly invisible to sensors, another innovation that had been forbidden under Council rules. Back on Earth, the effects of humanity's isolation were becoming clear in unexpected ways. Ambassador Patricia Wells stood in the United Nations building, addressing a gathering of world leaders. The expulsion had done something that centuries of human politics had failed to achieve. It had united the entire species. The Council's decision has eliminated the need for human competition, Patricia explained to the Assembly. "When we were part of the galactic community, Earth's nations competed for alien trade deals and technology shares. Now we all face the same challenge, proving that humanity can thrive without them." President Helen Foster nodded from her seat. "Our combined resources, our shared knowledge, our unified purpose, all of this is stronger than what we had when we were divided." "The irony is beautiful," added Director of Science Robert Kim. "The Council expelled us for being too chaotic and unpredictable. But their action forced us to become more organized and focused than we've ever been." Meanwhile, throughout Council space, the absence of humanity was creating problems no one had anticipated. On Altair Prime, Ambassador Kethmer was dealing with the collapse of several major trade routes that had depended on human cargo ships. "The delays are getting worse," reported Trade Minister Felthara during their weekly meeting. "The Rigelian Trade Consortium cannot match human efficiency. What used to take 3 weeks now takes 3 months. Kethmer's ears twitched with frustration. "What about the shipping contracts with the vegan traders? They demand payment in rare crystals that we can no longer obtain. The human mining operation in the Tau Ceti system provided those materials at 1/10 the current cost. On the other side of the galaxy, the crystalline engineers were facing their own crisis. Chief Engineer Voxandra stood before a mining facility that had been shut down for 8 months. "The extraction methods are too dangerous without human oversight," she explained to the facility manager. "Our people do not have the intuitive understanding of controlled explosions that humans possessed. Every attempt to restart production has resulted in crystal damage or worker injury. What about the technical manuals the humans left behind?" the manager asked. "The manuals explain what to do, but not how to think about the problems that arise. Humans did not just follow procedures. They adapted, they improvised, they found solutions that no manual could teach." The defense situation was even worse. Commander Zix Tull of the Council Defense Force stood in the tactical center, staring at reports of increasing Void Reaper activity along the border. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Kevener, 3 more automated defense platforms have malfunctioned this month. Without human maintenance crews, we cannot keep the systems operating at full efficiency. What about our own technicians?" Commander Zixtel asked. "They can perform basic repairs, but the platforms were designed to evolve and adapt to new threats. The humans programmed them to think creatively, to develop new tactics automatically. Our people can maintain the hardware, but they cannot replicate the innovative thinking that made the systems effective." Dr. Kevin Chang received this information through carefully hidden communication channels. Several alien scientists had quietly maintained contact with their human colleagues, sharing information despite Council prohibitions. "They're struggling," Dr. Chang explained to his research team. "The galaxy is more interconnected than the Council realized. Remove one key component, and the entire system starts to break down." "Are you saying we should help them?" asked Dr. Lisa Park. "I'm saying we should be ready," Kevin replied. "Sooner or later, they're going to realize that expelling us created more problems than it solved." Captain Tony Rivera's exploration missions were revealing just how much the Council had hidden from humanity. The void regions, declared off-limits for thousands of years, contained ancient ruins and abandoned technology that suggested the galaxy's history was far different from what the Council taught. "Captain," reported Science Officer Mark Turner, "from the Pioneers' Laboratory, these artifacts predate the Council by millions of years. The technology is more advanced than anything we've seen, but it's similar to human design principles." "Similar how?" Tony asked. "It's chaotic, unpredictable, designed to adapt and evolve. Whoever built this thought like humans think." Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison was receiving regular reports from all these activities. Humanity was not just surviving their expulsion, they were thriving in ways that surprised even themselves. "Sir," Captain Hayes reported during their daily briefing, "our production is up 300%. Our technology development is advancing faster than ever, and our exploration efforts are uncovering secrets the Council has hidden for millennia." Morrison nodded thoughtfully. "The Council expelled us because they thought we were dangerous to their stability. They were right, but not in the way they expected." "What do you mean, sir?" Morrison walked to the window overlooking the bustling spaceport. Ships launched every few minutes, carrying humans to mining operations, research stations, and exploration missions throughout the solar system. "We weren't dangerous because we might have caused chaos," Morrison explained. "We were dangerous because we might have shown other species that the Council's way isn't the only way, that there are better solutions to old problems." 3 years after humanity's expulsion, the galaxy faced its worst crisis in over 1,000 years. The Void Reapers, ancient machine beings from the dark spaces between stars, had launched their most aggressive campaign since the formation of the Council. Their black ships appeared without warning, striking at colonies and trade routes with ruthless efficiency. Counselor Zeph Run stood before an emergency session of the Galactic Council, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly as he read the casualty reports. The numbers were staggering. 17 colonies destroyed, 43 trade stations obliterated, and over 2 million beings dead or missing. "The situation is critical," Zeph Run announced to the assembled delegates. "The Void Reapers have broken through our outer defenses and are advancing toward core Council worlds." Counselor Vextharis' crystal form pulsed with anxious light. "What is the status of our defense fleet?" Admiral Trixnall of the Council Defense Force stepped forward, his 4 arms gesturing to the tactical display behind him. "Our ships are designed for conventional warfare against known enemies. The Reapers adapt their tactics faster than our strategic doctrine can accommodate. Every time we develop a counter-strategy, they change their approach." "What about the automated defense platforms along the border?" asked Counselor Ethmara from the Peaceful Wanderer delegation. 60% of the platforms are offline," Admiral Trixnall replied grimly. "The remaining systems are operating far below optimal efficiency. Without proper maintenance and upgrade protocols, they cannot keep pace with Reaper evolution." Uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. Everyone knew who had designed and maintained those defense systems. Everyone knew who had been responsible for the innovative tactics that had kept the Reapers at bay for over a decade. Commander Zixtal entered the chamber and approached the Admiral. "Sir, urgent report from the vegan sector. The Reapers have deployed new weapon configurations that our ships cannot counter. The Third Fleet is requesting immediate reinforcement or permission to withdraw." Admiral Trixnall looked at the data, pad with growing despair. "The Reapers are using tactics we've never seen before. They're adapting faster than we can respond. Our standard military protocols are useless against them." "Then we need new protocols," Vexthara said. "We need innovative strategies. We need unpredictable tactics." The words hung in the air like an accusation. Everyone in the chamber knew what she was really saying, but no one wanted to speak it aloud. On Altair Prime, Ambassador Kethmer was receiving his own desperate reports. The Reaper advance was heading directly toward the Altarian colonies. and the Council had denied his request for additional defense ships. Resources were stretched too thin across too many fronts. "Sir," his V's aide Valmora announced nervously, "I have received an unofficial communication from the Altarian High Command." Kethmer looked up from the evacuation plans he had been studying. "Unofficial? They want you to make contact with humanity, sir, through back channels. They want to know if the humans would consider providing assistance." Kethmer's ears flattened against his head. Making unauthorized contact with expelled humanity would end his career and possibly result in criminal charges. But looking at the tactical display showing Reaper forces advancing toward his homeworld, those consequences seemed less important. "Sir," Valmora continued, "similar requests are coming from 14 other species. The crystalline engineers, the vegan traders, the Rigelian consortium, even some of the species that voted for human expulsion are quietly asking about possible human intervention." Kethmer stood and walked to his office window, looking out at the city below. Millions of his people lived here, unaware that enemy forces were only weeks away from their world. "Prepare my personal ship," he ordered. "File a flight plan for the outer system. Tell anyone who asks that I am conducting a routine inspection of our defense satellites. Sir, if you're caught making contact with humanity..." "If I don't make contact with humanity, there may not be an Altair Prime left to worry about," Kethmer replied. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Admiral Morrison was watching the galactic news feeds with grim interest. The Void Reaper attacks dominated every broadcast, and the casualty reports grew worse each day. Captain Hayes entered the command center beneath Cheyenne Mountain, carrying a stack of data pads. "Sir, we're receiving covert communications from 17 different Council species. They're all asking for the same thing." Morrison took one of the data pads and read the encrypted message from the Altarian government. "They want our help." "The irony is almost painful, sir," Hayes observed. 3 years ago, they expelled us for being too dangerous and unpredictable. Now they need exactly those qualities to survive." Morrison set down the datapad and activated the main tactical display. It showed the galaxy-wide situation in real time, updated through the quantum communication network that Dr. Chang had perfected. The advancing Reaper forces were marked in red, while Council defense positions were shown in blue. The map looked like a medical scan of a patient with a spreading infection. "What's our current military capability?" Morrison asked. "The new exploration fleet has been retrofitted with stealth and combat systems," Hayes replied. "Captain Rivera's ships can appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. The quantum communication network allows instant coordination across unlimited distances. Our weapons technology has advanced beyond anything the Council has seen." "And our strategic doctrine?" Hayes smiled slightly. "Still as unpredictable and chaotic as ever, sir, maybe more so." Dr. Chang's research facility had become the nerve center for monitoring the galactic crisis. The quantum communication array picked up Council military transmissions, emergency broadcasts, and desperate calls for help from across known space. "Reapers are using completely new tactics," Dr. Chang explained to his team. "They're no longer following the predictable patterns that the Council has prepared for. It's like they've learned to think creatively. Or they've learned to counter predictable thinking," suggested Dr. Lisa Park. "The Council's military strategies haven't changed in centuries. They rely on established procedures and proven methods." "Exactly," Chang agreed. "But the Reapers have evolved beyond those limitations. They're adapting, improvising, finding new solutions to old problems. They're thinking like humans," Park realized. Chang nodded grimly. "Which means only humans can counter them effectively." On the bridge of the U.S. Pioneer, Captain Rivera was conducting humanity's own reconnaissance of the crisis. His ship's stealth systems allowed him to observe Reaper forces without being detected, providing intelligence that no Council ship could gather. "Captain," reported Science Officer Turner, "I'm detecting massive Reaper fleet movements toward the Galactic Core. They're not just raiding anymore. This looks like a full invasion." Rivera studied the sensor readings with growing concern. How many ships? Conservative estimate? Over 10,000 vessels, with more emerging from dark space every day. Navigator Beth Clark looked up from her station. "Sir, at their current advance rate, they'll reach the major Council worlds within 2 months. Rivera activated the quantum communicator. "Priority message to Earth Command. The situation is worse than the news feeds indicate. The Reapers aren't just attacking random targets. They have a coordinated strategy to capture the galactic government." Back on Earth, the message arrived instantly in Admiral Morrison's command center. The implications were staggering. If the Reapers captured the Council worlds, they would control the galaxy's government, military, and infrastructure. "Sir, Captain," Hayes said quietly, "if the Council falls, the Reapers will have access to detailed information about every civilized world in the galaxy, including Earth." Morrison nodded. "We can't hide in the Sol system forever. Eventually, they'll come for US too. So what do we do?" Morrison looked at the tactical display showing humanity's forces. 50 advanced warships, a quantum communication network, innovative weapons technology, and military thinking that no enemy had encountered before. "We do what humans do best, Captain. We solve impossible problems, even for the people who expelled us." Morrison was quiet for a long moment. "The Council made a mistake when they expelled us. They let fear of change override common sense. But that doesn't mean we should let innocent people die for their leaders' poor decisions. And if we help them, then we help them as equals, not as returning exiles begging for forgiveness," Morrison replied firmly. "If humanity saves the galaxy, it will be because we chose to, not because we were ordered to." The communication system activated with an incoming priority signal. Ambassador Kethmer's image appeared on the main screen, his usual diplomatic composure replaced by desperate urgency. "Admiral Morrison, I am speaking to you without authorization from my government or the Council. My people are dying. The galaxy is dying. The Reapers are advancing faster than anyone predicted, and our conventional defenses are useless against them." Morrison leaned forward in his chair. "Ambassador, you're taking a significant risk by contacting us." "The risk of doing nothing is far greater," Kethmer replied. "Admiral, we need your help. Not just my people, but all the species in Council space. We need human unpredictability. We need human innovation. We need human courage." "What exactly are you asking for, Ambassador?" The decision came quickly once humanity realized the full scope of the crisis. President Helen Foster addressed the emergency session of Earth's unified government in Geneva, her voice carrying the weight of species survival. "The Void Reapers aren't just attacking Council space," she explained to the packed assembly hall. "Intelligence reports show they're gathering information about every inhabited world in the galaxy. If they succeed in conquering the Council, Earth will be next on their list." Senator Robert Kim raised his hand from the floor. "Madam President, many of us still remember the insults we suffered during the expulsion. Why should we risk human lives for people who called us dangerous and cast us out?" "Because that's what makes us human," Foster replied firmly. "We don't abandon people in need, even people who have wronged us. But more importantly, we're not doing this as grateful refugees returning home. We're doing this as equals, offering partnership to solve a mutual threat." The vote was unanimous. Humanity would enter the Galactic War, but on their own terms. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, watching the most powerful fleet humanity had ever assembled. 50 advanced warships hung in space around Earth, their sleek designs incorporating technology that the Council had never seen. Each ship was equipped with quantum communicators, stealth systems, and weapons that could adapt in real time to enemy defenses. "Admiral," Captain Hayes reported from the communication station. "All fleet commanders are standing by for final orders." Morrison activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. 4 years ago, the Galactic Council expelled us from their space. They said we were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too willing to break their precious rules. Today, we're going to prove they were right about everything except the danger." Captain Danny Sullivan listened from the bridge of the USS New Seattle, named after the colony he had been forced to abandon. His ship was part of the fast attack squadron, designed to strike Reaper positions and disappear before they could respond. "We're not going back as the same people who left," Morrison continued. "We're returning as something the galaxy has never seen before. We're humanity unbound. Humanity without limits. Humanity free to be everything we were meant to be." Dr. Amy Rodriguez coordinated the quantum communication network from her rebuilt laboratory on Luna. The array that the Council had forced her to destroy was now bigger and more powerful than ever. With it, human forces could coordinate attacks across the entire galaxy with perfect timing. "All communication nodes are online," she reported to Admiral Morrison. "We can maintain instant contact with any human unit anywhere in known space. And the stealth systems?" "Captain Rivera's reconnaissance ships are already in position throughout Council space. The Reapers have no idea we're coming." Captain Tony Rivera floated in the command center of the UES Pioneer, deep in Reaper-controlled territory. His ship's advanced stealth technology made it invisible to both Reaper and Council sensors. For the past week, he had been watching the enemy fleet movements, learning their patterns and weaknesses. "Captain," reported Navigator Beth Clark, "Reaper forces are concentrated around 17 major star systems. They're using predictable defensive formations, probably because they expect predictable attacks." Rivera smiled grimly. "They're about to learn that humans don't do predictable." The attack began simultaneously across 47 different systems. Human ships appeared without warning, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before the Reapers could respond. It was warfare unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker led a strike team against the Reaper stronghold in the Vega system. His ships materialized from stealth just long enough to launch their attacks, then disappeared back into the void. "Target the command nodes," he ordered his squadron. "The Reapers coordinate through central processing units. Take those out, and their entire fleet becomes confused." The human weapons were designed to adapt and evolve during combat. As Reaper shields adjusted to counter the attacks, the weapons automatically modified their frequencies and patterns. It was technology that required creative thinking to operate effectively, something no other species had developed. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Bill Jackson commanded a mining operation that had been converted into a mobile weapons platform. The massive ship appeared in the middle of a Reaper fleet, launched devastating attacks in all directions, then jumped away before the enemy could coordinate a response. "The Reapers are trying to adapt to our tactics," reported Weapons Officer Helen Cruz, "but they can't predict our next move because we're making it up as we go along." "That's the human advantage," Jackson replied. "We don't follow the rules because we don't know what the rules are supposed to be." Within 6 weeks, the Reaper advance had not only been stopped but completely reversed. The ancient machine intelligence found itself facing an enemy that seemed to ignore every principle of military strategy they had ever encountered. Human units appeared in impossible locations, used weapons that defied conventional physics, and employed tactics that made no logical sense, but somehow worked perfectly. Admiral Morrison received reports from across the galaxy as human forces pushed the Reapers back toward the dark spaces they had emerged from. The quantum communication network allowed him to coordinate the entire campaign from his flagship, directing battles that spanned thousands of light years. "Sir," Captain Hayes announced, "we're receiving a priority communication from the Galactic Council. Counselor Vexthara is requesting permission to speak with you directly." Morrison nodded. "Put her through." The crystalline being appeared on the main screen, her form pulsing with what Morrison had learned to recognize as nervous energy. "Admiral Morrison, the Council wishes to express its gratitude for humanity's intervention in the current crisis." "Counselor," Morrison replied neutrally, "we're not intervening in your crisis. We're solving our own problem." The Reapers were a threat to all inhabited worlds, including Earth. "Yes, of course," Vexthara said quickly. "Nevertheless, your actions have saved countless lives throughout Council space. We would like to discuss the terms of humanity's return to the galactic community." Morrison exchanged glances with Captain Hayes before responding. "Counselor, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Humanity isn't returning to anything. We've moved beyond the need for Council membership." The silence that followed was profound. It was clear that Vexthara had expected grateful humans to beg for readmission to the organization that had expelled them. "However," Morrison continued, "we're willing to discuss a partnership between equals, with full recognition of human sovereignty and our right to develop and explore as we see fit." Vexthara's crystalline form shifted uncertainly. "Admiral, the Council will need to deliberate on such an arrangement." "Of course," Morrison replied. "Take all the time you need. We'll be out here, doing what humans do best." After the communication ended, Hayes turned to Morrison. "Sir, do you think they'll accept a partnership with us as equals?" Morrison looked out at the stars beyond the viewport. "Captain, 4 years ago they expelled us because they were afraid we might change things. We've spent 4 years proving that change isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. And if they refuse," Morrison smiled, "then the galaxy will have 2 civilizations instead of 1. The Council can keep their stability and predictability. Humanity will keep exploring, innovating, and solving impossible problems." On Altair Prime, Ambassador Kethmer was preparing his report for the Altarian government. The human fleet had saved his homeworld from certain destruction, but more importantly, they had shown an entirely new way of thinking about galactic civilization. The humans didn't just defeat the Reapers, he dictated to his aide. They demonstrated that there are alternatives to the Council's way of doing things. They proved that innovation and unpredictability are strengths, not weaknesses. Dr. Chang's quantum communication network was carrying similar reports from across the galaxy. Species that had voted for human expulsion were quietly reaching out, asking about trade agreements and research partnerships. The galaxy was learning that humanity's departure had left gaps that no one else could fill. Captain Rivera's exploration ships were discovering new worlds and new possibilities beyond the borders of Council space. The regions that had been declared off-limits for thousands of years were revealing secrets that changed everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy. "Sir," Science Officer Turner reported from the Pioneers Laboratory, "we found evidence of 17 different civilizations that predate the Council by millions of years. All of them seem to have used technology and thinking patterns similar to human approaches." Rivera nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe humanity isn't as unique as we thought. Maybe we're just the first species in a long time to rediscover what civilization was like before the Council imposed their version of order." 6 months after their intervention, human forces had not only driven the Reapers back to dark space, but had also begun establishing their own research stations and exploration bases throughout the galaxy. They weren't conquering or claiming territory. They were simply going where their curiosity led them.